Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is June 24th, 2025, and you've sent us some really crucial sources today.
hmm
We're looking at some breaking global news, a surprising, maybe fragile ceasefire between Israel and Iran.
After 12 pretty tense days, yeah.
Exactly. So our mission today, yours and mine, is to unpack this using the material you sent. What sparked it? What are the terms? And, what does it actually mean?
Right. Well, the spark, according to these sources, seems pretty clear. It started with Israeli airstrikes
Targeting?
targeting Iranian nuclear facilities.
Yeah.
Israel's stated reason was preventing Iran from getting nuclear weapons. We're talking uranium enrichment sites, heavy water production, the key stuff.
And Iran's reaction?
Swift
Yeah.
and significant. Missile attacks hit Israeli cities and, crucially, also a U.S. military base in Qatar. That really raised the stakes immediately.
Yeah, hitting a U.S. base changes the game. So how did they manage to pull back from that brink? What are the actual terms of the ceasefire?
It's quite specific, actually. The deal was brokered largely by U.S. President Donald Trump, with Qatar playing a key mediation role.
Okay.
It's a phased thing. Iran agreed to halt its attacks first. That's interesting. Maybe points to some leverage being used. Then Israel follows suit 12 hours later. The ceasefire is only considered fully locked in after a whole 24 hours pass.
And there's a catch, I assume.
Oh, yeah, a
Yeah.
big one. Both sides have explicitly said, if the other side breaks it, hostilities are back on immediately. Shows how little trust there really is.
That lack of trust seems clear in how they're talking about it, too. Israel's declaring victory, sort of.
Right. Israel says it achieved its military goals, neutralizing key Iranian nuclear and missile capabilities. That's their public stance.
Yeah.
But, well, some sources suggest these strikes hit known facilities.
Mhm.
The question is, what about undeclared or hidden capabilities? So how much of a long-term setback it truly is for Iran?
Mm.
Well, it's less clear.
And Iran's take, you said they initially denied a formal deal.
Yeah, their messaging was a bit different. Initially, more like denying a formal agreement. But they did indicate they'd stop attacks if Israel stopped. It's subtle, but it points to that same deep skepticism on both ends. Verification is going to be absolutely critical here.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the diplomacy. You mentioned Trump and Qatar. How exactly did they make this happen, bringing two such hostile parties together, even indirectly?
It was multi-layered.
Yeah.
President Trump was reportedly in direct contact with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Okay.
At the same time, other high-level U.S. officials, Vice President Vance, Secretary of State Rubio, were communicating with Iranian counterparts. Not direct talks between Israel and Iran, of course.
And Qatar's role.
Crucial. They acted as the go-between, especially facilitating the U.S.-Iran channel. They have those established lines of communication. The big challenge, really, was finding a sequence, like who stops first, that both could accept without looking weak. Overcoming that huge trust deficit was key.
So, stepping back a bit, beyond just stopping the immediate fighting, what could this mean for the region? Is this a potential turning point or just, hitting pause?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Mm.
And it's a big if. If this holds, it could be more than just a pause.
How so?
Well, the immediate de-escalation creates a bit of breathing room. Both sides just felt the costs of direct conflict, economically, militarily. Maybe, just maybe, that makes them more open to specific, verifiable steps on the nuclear program, not just vague talks. There's a shared incentive now for restraint, even if it's fragile.
But the underlying problems are still there.
Exactly. The sources are clear on that. The nuclear program is one thing, but Iran's regional influence, its proxy networks, those core issues haven't gone away. They weren't part of the ceasefire deal. So the risk of future flare-ups is still very, very real if they don't find a way to address those broader problems.
So are we just kicking the can down the road again? Or is there anything in the sources suggesting this time might be different? And what about the rest of the world? How are they reacting?
It's tough to say if it's truly different this time. The core issues, like I said, are unresolved. But the global reaction has been pretty immediate.
Release.
Mostly relief, yeah. You saw oil prices drop, stock futures went up, markets hate uncertainty, and this reduces the immediate risk of a wider war. Leaders in Europe, the Middle East, they're expressing cautious optimism. You hear words like dialogue, restraint. The French president called it an absolute necessity to keep talking.
So a collective sigh of relief, but nobody's breaking out the champagne just yet.
Precisely. Relief, but tempered with a heavy dose of caution.
Okay, so bringing it all together for you, our listener, this ceasefire, it definitely brings some immediate relief, stops the fighting for now. But wow, does it highlight how incredibly complex and volatile things are?
Hmm. Hmm.
And it leaves us with a really important question, doesn't it? Can this kind of phased agreement, hammered out amid conflict and pushed by outside powers, actually build a foundation for lasting peace? Or is it just buying time before the next crisis erupts over the same unresolved issues?
That's what we'll be watching.
We definitely will. Thank you for diving deep with us today. Until next time, keep exploring the complexities.